There was silence in the hall. Then the ruling came out. Gene Hackman's daughter used to be in a fight for a piece of his huge income. Now she's on the verge of something she never saw coming. Was she really involved in her father's strange death, or is this just a sad case of suspicion getting the best of people? The case takes a scary turn when shocking new proof comes to light, and lawyers weigh in. No one could have guessed how bad the truth is. You'll never look at this story the same way again after hearing what comes next. Gene Hackman was a man who was very good at what he did and always worked hard at it. But behind the fame and Oscars he won, he had a personal problem that stayed with him his whole life. He had a hard time getting along with his kids. People liked how intense he was on screen, but his family often missed the real man behind the parts. The three children Hackman has with Elizabeth Maltes were born during his first marriage to Fay Maltes in the 1960s. Hackman was still a failing actor trying to make a name for himself in a tough business at the time. It was hard for the family to make ends meet because they lived in a small room in New York. Their apartment was a cold water walk-up that didn't have hot water or central heating. Fay took care of their kids while Hackman followed his dreams. As his career took off after his big break in Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, the fame that came with it was both a gift and a curse. He got farther away from his family as he became more famous. Hackman was always shooting all the time, sometimes for months at a time, so his kids never had a dad to look up to. There was a hole in the world without him, and he later admitted that it could not be fully filled. He told GQ in 2011 that he had lost touch with his son and stopped giving him advice. Maybe it had to do with being gone so much doing location films when he was at an age where he needed support and guidance. It was very tough for me to be gone for 3 months and then come home and start bossing him around. His fame had a big effect on the lives of his children. Hackman told the Irish Independent in 2000, "It's tough being the son or daughter of a celebrity. I couldn't always be home with them when they were growing up. And then living in California, they've had my success always hanging over their heads." Hackman privately struggled with guilt over his choices, even though he had a lot of fame, money, and praise. His marriage to Fay Maltes finally fell apart because of the stress, and in 1986 they got a divorce. His son Christopher especially missed having a father figure in his life, and at times their relationship got so tense that they lost touch. It was impossible for the man who played strong authoritative characters on TV to connect emotionally with his children. But Hackman wasn't one to ignore what was wrong with him. When he married his second wife, musician Betsy Arakawa, in 1991, she helped him get back in touch with his family. Betsy told him to bring his kids back into his life and make their house a place where they could get back together. Reports say that Hackman learned a lot from these times and was able to make up for the years he lost to desire and distance. Insiders said that Hackman's relationships with his grown children and even his grandkids had gotten better by 2020. The ties he was able to rebuild brought him comfort, even though he could never get back the time he had lost. In 2025, though, Hackman and Betsy were found dead in their home in New Mexico because of tragedy. Betsy died of the hantavirus, and Hackman died of heart disease, which was made worse by Alzheimer's disease. The news shocked everyone, not just people in Hollywood. It reminded everyone that life is short, even for famous people. After Hackman's death, people were interested in the strange circumstances of his death and his fortune, which was worth about $80 million. Did he have more going on in his last days than everyone thought? New shocking information about Gene Hackman's death is about to come out that no one saw coming. Hackman's death was met with sadness and memories, but it wasn't long before people started to wonder about how he died. At first it was thought that the deaths were caused by natural causes, but then rumors of something more sinister started to spread, tying his name into a surprising riddle. Now it's said that the police are deep into an investigation, digging deeper into what at first seemed like a simple and sad death. Medical records, phone logs, and security images from the area are being looked at by investigators to try to rule out foul play. Sources say that the case is far from over, even though there is still no solid proof of wrongdoing. Hackman's daughter Leslie is said to be involved, which is one of the most shocking parts of the probe. Reports say that she is also being looked at closely, and that her personal emails and call logs are being looked at as part of the investigation. Leslie Ann Hackman was born in 1966. She is the youngest child of actors Gene Hackman and Fay Maltes, who was his first wife. Unlike her father, Leslie has decided to live a private life, so not much is known about her personal and work activities. She has kept a low profile, and not many people know exactly where she lives or what she does for a living. Leslie was shocked and worried about what happened, saying, "I think I'm very anxious to find out what happened, and I just don't know how long they had been deceased." The interactions she had with Hackman in the days before her death are being looked at by police for any signs of coercion or wrongdoing. The public still doesn't know what the investigation is about, but the rumors about Leslie's possible participation have made an already shocking story even more so. Could she have been just another sad person involved in her father's death, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? Close family and friends have said they don't believe the rumors, and some have called the study a last-ditch effort to find a story where there isn't one. Others, though, have said that problems between Hackman and his kids have been known for a long time, which makes the situation even more interesting. Could problems with Hackman's family from the past have had something to do with the last part of his life? As police dig deeper and forensic teams keep working, everyone around the world waits with bated breath for answers. Gene Hackman will always be remembered as an actor, but his last days may soon reveal a story much more complicated than anything Hollywood ever imagined. Everyone, even Gene Hackman's own children, is shocked by his will, which is another sore point. It turns out that the court papers hide new information about how hard it is for him to get along with his kids. Hackman had quietly built up a lot of money from his playing career and real estate investments. He was known for his parts in The French Connection, Unforgiven, and The Royal Tenenbaums. His main home was a huge farm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He and his wife Betsy Arakawa lived there until they died. The allegedly million-dollar home was part of his carefully managed financial portfolio, which also included other investments in real estate. Many people were shocked when his will was made public. It has caused new problems and raised questions about what will happen to his money and his relationship with his children. Business Insider got copies of court papers from the First Judicial District Court of New Mexico that show Hackman's will gave his entire wealth to his wife Betsy Arakawa Hackman as the new trustee of his living trust. It says in the will from 2005, "I give my entire estate to Betsy Arakawa Hackman as the successor trustee of the Gene Hackman Living Trust under the trust agreement dated September 22, 1995. As amended and restated from time to time, most recently on the same date as this will." This meant that she had to follow the trust's instructions, which will not be made public unless there is a dispute. Lawrence D. Mandelker, a trust and estate lawyer in New York who is not involved in the case, said, "That's a way of saying, I'm giving it to the trust." The plan protected privacy and kept the details from the public. Jason Coe, an estate lawyer who was also not involved in the case, called Hackman's will a pour-over will, which is a popular way to avoid making the distribution of an estate public. It was surprising how Hackman seemed to treat his three kids from his first marriage, Christopher Hackman, Elizabeth Jean Hackman, and Leslie Ann Allen. They were only named in the will to show that they existed. There was no mention of property or special gifts. Estate lawyers say that they might still be a part of the trust, but the details will stay secret unless there is a court fight. One of the biggest problems with carrying out the estate's instructions came from Betsy Arakawa Hackman's own will, which had a nod clause. Business Insider got copies of papers that showed her fortune would go to the Gene Hackman Living Trust if she died before Hackman. If he died first, though, her fortune was going to be given to charity. A key part of her will caused the problem: no person will be deemed to have survived me if the person dies within 90 days of my death. Hackman, 95, and Arakawa Hackman, 65, were found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico in late February. Investigators found that Arakawa Hackman had died about a week before Hackman. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome was reported as the cause of her death. Hackman soon after passed away because of problems caused by heart disease and Alzheimer's disease. Since he died within the 90-day window, the phrase in her will treated him as having died before her, so her wealth went straight to charity. Mandelker described the strange legal result. This will says that he predeceased her, even though she was still alive when she died. This means that all of her property will go to charity. Because this clause is so complicated, some people are wondering if Hackman's children will get anything at all or if the whole estate will stay in the trust. The couple's strict privacy rules add to the mystery surrounding Hackman's wealth, according to court papers made by Julio Peters, the chief attorney at the Avalon Trust investment firm and the current agent of Hackman's estate. He and his wife put a lot of value on their privacy and took proactive, careful steps to protect it. Because of this, the exact terms of the trust, including who gets what and how the money is split, are kept secret. As the court case goes on, the question that still needs to be answered is whether Hackman set up his estate on purpose to limit what his children would receive, or whether this was an accident caused by legal details. The strange circumstances of Gene Hackman's death have not only caused a lot of interest, but they have also led to a fierce court fight over his huge estate. Based on estimates, he is worth about $80 million. What will happen to his money is a hotly debated topic that has law experts and the public guessing. Reports say Hackman's son Christopher has already gone to court and hired Andrew M. Katzenstein, a trust and estate lawyer in California. TMZ says that the fact that Hackman and his eldest child have had a tense relationship over the years could make the case more difficult. Christopher, on the other hand, seems set on fighting the will. There are also rumors that his daughters Elizabeth and Leslie are planning to do the same. Some sources say they are thinking about going to court to get their share of the estate. Leslie Ann, 58, told the Daily Mail that she and her father were still close, even though she hadn't talked to him in weeks before he died. I think I'm very eager to find out what happened, and I just don't know how long they had been dead. Authorities aren't saying much about the details, but legal experts say that anyone involved in changing the circumstances of Hackman's death could face serious consequences. If prosecutors make a case against Leslie, she could get in a lot of trouble with the law, even go to jail. The people is still divided as the probe goes on. Other people say that Leslie is being wrongly targeted because of the inheritance issue, while others say that she should be punished if she had anything to do with the tragedy. There are still legal and criminal cases going on about Gene Hackman's estate. Because he left everything to a charity trust in his will, it will be hard for his children to get what is theirs. Lawyers say that the courts probably won't change Hackman's final requests unless they can show that he was unduly influenced or mentally unable because of his Alzheimer's. But because the stakes are so high, long court cases are almost certain to happen. At the same time, the probe into Leslie Hackman's possible role in her father's death goes on. Even though no official charges have been brought, police are said to be looking through financial records and security footage for anything that could lead them to believe someone is guilty. If strong proof comes forward, Leslie could be charged with a crime, and some people think she might even be sentenced if she is found guilty. The police are still not saying much about the details, but the case is still changing. For now, the Hackman family is still being looked at by the law and the people. It is still not clear if the children will get any of their father's money, or if the organization will get all of it. But one thing is for sure, the battle over Hackman's reputation is just getting started. The Hackman family is in a lot of public scrutiny, media attention, and mental turmoil as the court case goes on. There have been heated arguments about property, family ties, and the morality of following a celebrity's last wishes because of this case. This case has become one of the most talked about in recent years because Hackman's will could have legal effects and his daughter Leslie may be involved. Leslie Hackman used to be a mysterious figure who lived in the background of her famous father. Now she is thrust into the public eye.
The focus, on the other hand, is not at all nice. She is in a more dangerous situation because she is being accused of having something to do with her father's strange death, and the property dispute is getting worse. The case has become more complicated by the investigation into what she did in the days before Hackman died. Financial records, camera footage, and comments from witnesses are all being looked over very carefully. Now every move she made, every call she got, and every contact she had with her dad and his wife is being looked at to see if there are any signs of wrongdoing or bad influence. A lot of people have tough questions about Leslie's role in the case. Is she just a daughter who is still grieving over the death of her father, or is there something more evil going on? People who are quick to judge have different opinions on the subject. Some people think that the stories are caused by the fight over Hackman's inheritance and the difficult relationship between him and his children. Others are more skeptical because of the strange circumstances of the couple's deaths. Hackman's other children, Christopher and Elizabeth, are having an even harder time with their relationships because of all the legal and mental trouble. Christopher has already gone to court, but there are rumors that Elizabeth may do the same and join the fight for a piece of the property. Since each of the kids had their own problems with their father over the years, they are now at odds not only with each other but also with what their father left behind. Their only choice is to follow Hackman's will. Because of the terms of his living trust, it is hard for his children to challenge the estate without a strong court case. Hackman's wealth was meant to be hidden from the public and his family's privacy protected by the trust structure. However, Hackman's children may not have been able to benefit from his wealth by accident. For his children to get any part of the fortune, they would have to go to court and fight it, which could take years. And even then, the result is still not clear. For now, it's not clear what will happen to Leslie. Will the evidence clear her of any wrongdoing, or will it point to a more troubling role in her father's death? If proof of wrongdoing turns up, Leslie could be charged with major crimes and go to jail if she is found guilty. Legal experts say that what she did after Hackman's death will be very important in figuring out if she was involved in any possible manipulation of the situation. There are still people in the Hackman family fighting over their share of the inheritance, and some are worried about how this court battle will affect their daily lives. Already, the Hackman children have been emotionally distant from their father for years, and the ongoing fight over his wealth makes things even more difficult between them. Gene Hackman's successful work used to be the family's defining moment, but now controversy and strife could take that away. One thing is clear: Gene Hackman's legacy will not just be his famous movie parts. The investigation into his death is still going on, and the court fight over his estate is getting worse. With all the drama, court battles, and family problems in the last part of his life, the actor's death has become a real-life story that people are still interested in. This is a very public case that everyone will be watching over the next few months. Will Leslie, her brothers, and their father's last wishes be accepted in the end, or will they keep fighting for what they think is theirs? Will the investigation into Hackman's death lead to a solution, or will it make the story even more complicated, leaving more questions than answers? As more facts come out, one thing is for sure: the fight for Gene Hackman's reputation is far from over.